All right, guys, today is something quite special. This is an FG XR8. Now, if you're not familiar with these cars, they're actually pretty rare, and I didn't know this really until I was offered them, but there was only around 1,500 of these made. That's it. And even less in manual, which is what this one is. This one is a 6-speed manual, the TR6060, so the same one that's in the VFs, but obviously different input shafts and all that stuff, but same box. They only ran these cars for a couple of years, 2009 and I think it was April, I think it was May 2010, so really not that long. And if we have a quick look over here, this one's in great nick. If we pop the bonnet, turn the key rather, we have, oh yeah, that's the one downside of this car, 26 litres per 100k. 119,000 Ks. We have our little screen here, and I'm not going to touch it too much, but I'm sure you're reasonably familiar with it, the ICC, and because this is the XR8 version, it's got the premium one, the colour one, but it is not touch like the one in my FG. So I thought this would be a good review because I had daily drive an FG Falcon. Mine is an Auto 6, and this is the first time since I bought that car that I've been presented with another one, and it's really different. I am shocked how different this car drives. Anyway, I really like these door cards as well. These are really nice. I'll just have a quick jump outside, but this is what we are looking at. Now, this car has been lowered a little bit, but other than that, oh, and the owner does have that other center cap, so don't worry about that. But there she is. No number plates. This one's currently unregistered, but of course we've got permits and all that stuff. XR8 bonnet bulge, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but that is one of the most iconic parts of the styling of these cars. Very good looking car, and I love these as well, the things on the doors. They're the XR8 badges on the doors. It just looks great. And this one has been lowered a little bit. I'd probably take the mud flaps off because they're always scraping on stuff, even if I go really slow. There's our XR8 badges and the exhaust. Now, it has been very challenging actually to find information about this car because there are plenty of XR8s made, that's for sure, but sedans is very rare. Most of them are utes, and I think back when this car was new, a V8 ute was still a pretty easy thing to sell. I'll show you the engine bay. A V8 ute was still a pretty easy thing to sell, but a V8 sedan, I mean, it's one of the downsides of this car, which we'll get into later. She is pretty thirsty. Where is he? There he is. And there's our engine bay. It's pretty tidy. I did give it a little wipe down before. It's not perfect, and it's got the FPV ECU. And the other thing that's really cool about this car, I'll just go make sure that it is in neutral, is it has an exhaust, and it actually sounds great. Here we go. So give that a listen. But yeah, actually it's nice and warm now. I'll give it one quick rev. Yeah. I really like this car. It's just a big toy. Yeah, the motor, if you're not familiar with it, 290 kilowatts, 540 Newton meters of torque. This thing is just a massive toy. One of the things they talked about with this car is that it doesn't drive as well as a normal FG with the 6 because the V8 is a lot heavier, and I think that is right. It probably doesn't handle quite as nice, but again, this one, because it's been lowered a little bit, it might be a little bit hard to say exactly, but yeah, it definitely feels fast. So one of the criticisms about about this car is because it's quad cam, it sounds a little bit different than the Holden equivalents, and it might not sound as good, but I tell you what, it sounds bloody good. It does sound great, and it's very fun to drive, and even if on paper it's not as quick as it's the XR6 Turbo or not as tunable or whatever, it's still bloody fun. It still is, especially with this manual. You know, manuals and Falcons are rare enough, but again, I'm not going to be pushing this car too hard because It's unregistered and all that stuff, and it's just not who I am. But it is fun to drive, and you know, I daily an FG. The one that I drive gets about 10 litres per 100k, and that's the other thing. This car, you know, one of the things that killed this car is where you're getting about 25 litres. Now, that's dropped. When I picked this car up, it was at about 30, but it's just not as good as the 6. And as a daily, I think this would be a pretty average daily driver because of that. Doesn't mean that it's not fun as a weekender or something like that, but yeah, as a daily, I can see why they maybe weren't as popular. They're just so thirsty, and the 6s are pretty good, you know, compared to these. But man, it's got a lot of torque, like, you know, from, yeah, I just love that about V8s. You can just accelerate at any speed. And thinking back on it, that's the first car that I've done a 0 to 100 where I've actually lost traction in a standard car. I'm always ready for it, just in case, and I'm not trying to do that, but sometimes it happens. Yeah, I think it's a really nice driving car. It's comfortable, even though this one's been lowered, and I do really like the fact that you can see the bonnet bulge. And you know, I went to university for a few years, and other than a Hexted, the only other thing that I got out of it is I was lucky enough to have a lecture by the bloke that designed that, and he said, you know, obviously it's to make room for the massive engine under the bonnet, but it's also there, like it would fit even if the bonnet was flat, but apparently this is what he said, or it would just fit. But they did that so that there was a cushion, so if you hit somebody, they don't just hit the engine, you know, there's a little bit of cushion, and they had to do that by law. I'll give it another crack here. Yeah, I took it a little bit easier there, but otherwise this drive will cost me $100 in petrol if I keep driving it like that. But yeah, because it's a 6-speed, the TR6060, the box is as strong as anything. It's honestly, it's great. But yeah, so only 1,500 of these made. I can't remember the exact number. I think it's 1,536 or something like that, but not that many. And around 500 were manual. So it's really challenging to find those numbers because it's not an FPV or anything. But that's what it seems to be like. The Utes are a different story. I couldn't find how many of those were made, but they're a rare beast, these things. They really are. You don't see them. And again, I never really thought about it until this car was, you know, somebody offered it to me. Now that I think about it, they are rare. I never see them, not the sedans. And it makes you think, I wonder, and it makes you think how many of these are actually left, you know, 10 years later, 15 years later, that haven't been stacked, haven't been parted out, that kind of thing. So no, it's a really cool experience, if I'm honest. I'm really enjoying it, and it's just a big toy. It's funny how different of a car this is than my FG, which is just an inline 6. Again, I don't know if this car would make a very good daily, just because of the fuel usage, and it's just so fun. Like, you just want to be dumb in it. But as a weekender or something like that, I think it's great. And especially, you know, if you put a cam in it, whatever, well, you can't just put one cam in it, you got to put 4. I do really like the interior too, all of these blue dots. It's a really great driving car, and it just makes me think, you know, some of the best driving cars that we ever had, Australia kept completely to themselves. You know, this was never really available anywhere else, and it also drives really different than the BA GT that I've had on the channel. Oh my god, you guys can't see my face, but I'm just smiling. It's just such a fun car to drive. Like, it really just such a shame that we got rid of these. I think the biggest competition of this car though wasn't necessarily the VESS, which was this car's, like, on paper competitor. I think this car's biggest challenger would have been its own product, the internal, you know, FG XR6 turbo. That would have been the hardest sell, because they were very, very popular even when these, you know, were new. And, you know, it's pretty crazy to say, but you can get pretty good fuel economy from those, you know, relative to this. And price per kilowatt, the turbo probably makes more sense because there's so much more you can do to that car for less money. So these cars weren't as popular, especially among younger people. I would imagine that a lot of older blokes that, you know, like their XWs and XYs and all that kind of stuff, they would have loved having the V8s and XR8s. But yeah, it's really cool to experience one. I never really thought that I'd get to, so I'm very, very lucky, very, very lucky. As you can see, it's a little bit bouncy, but we can't really blame the car for that because it has been lowered. Just probably thinks the car's stolen because it's got no number plates, but oh well. Hope you guys enjoyed the video on the FG. It's been a really, really good car. I've really enjoyed spending my time with it, and yeah, it's one of those cars you just don't see anymore. So really hope that you guys enjoyed it, and if you would like your car on the channel, then please feel free to get in touch. I'm loving doing this at the moment. I've got so much on my plate. There's heaps and heaps of cool stuff to come, heaps of stuff going on, and there are lots of cars here, and heaps of cool stuff behind the scenes, guys. I'm so excited to share that all with you. So thank you guys. Thank you really everyone that has supported me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, has subscribed to me on any of those channels, and bought merch or whatever. And even if you haven't done any of that, just following along for the story, for the growth, and to, you know, follow along with some Australian cars, especially that one. There's a video coming out probably tomorrow of that one. So hopefully you guys like what's going on here, and thank you guys for watching, following along, liking, subscribing, and helping me, you know, live my dream. That's the honest truth. So thank you guys very, very, very much.